Hello guys and welcome back to Championship Predictions. It's the final set of Championship games before another international break. Sophie, how are you? And set us a like target.
Yeah, I'm feeling better today. Let's go for 2,500 likes.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Big one.
Come on guys, the Championship support is what this channel was built on. Take 2 seconds to hit that like button and it really is appreciated. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Join us over here as we push to 78,000 subs. And of course, as always, share your predictions down below. Speaking of predictions, Sophie deserves a massive round of applause for a big win in midweek. Do you know what, Sophie? I usually get the better of you in the Championship, so credit to you for getting a big win over me, and it closes the gap.
Yeah, as you say, I've closed the gap a little bit, but you created such a big gap that it's only put a tiny dent in it. So one good week, I need to follow it up now and be a bit more consistent.
Well, let's get into the predictions, Sophie, and we start with a real cracker at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland take on Leeds United. This is a big one. I love this matchup. This is like
two massive clubs going at it in the Championship.
They're both too big for the Championship, let's be honest. They're both colossal. In an ideal world, they'd both be Premier League clubs. But let's stop sucking up to their fans. Let's give a prediction here. Sunderland have won every home game.
Yeah.
They've been great this season. Leeds United have been pretty good lately. They drew 1-1 at Norwich, and let's not forget that Norwich hadn't lost a home game all of this year, so to get a draw there is fine. I think they're going to cancel each other out.
Agree.
I personally have expected Leeds to be the better team this season, but Sunderland have surprised me with their good start. 1-1.
Yeah, I was expecting Leeds to do better against Norwich, completely forgetting how well they'd been at home all year. I thought it was just this season, but they've just been unreal. So to even get a draw there is still a good result. They're coming up against Sunderland, who again, they've got a good home record. So a draw again wouldn't be a bad result. Maybe I'm bottling it and going for a draw as well, but let's kick it off with a 1-1.
Nah, same as me.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one to call, isn't it?
It is. That's why we've both just gone down the middle.
Yeah, share your thoughts in the comments, guys. It's a really big game, that one. The next one, Sophie, is a Lancashire derby as Burnley take on Preston. And Burnley, they got back to winning ways 1-0 against Plymouth. So it's 4 points against Plymouth and Oxford, but they've only scored 1 in the last 2. I do think they need to start firing a bit more. I still think, I can't see past Burnley not getting top 2.
Yes,
I think they're going to get automatics,
do,
but I don't think they're at their best at the moment. They take on Preston, who were great in midweek. They beat Watford 3-0, and Osmajic is still playing at the moment, and he got himself a couple of goals. I hope he gets his ban before the Coventry Preston game.
Yeah, I hope so. Because
he's a good player.
He's a very, very good player. But yeah, it is controversial that he was allowed to play against Watford and then helped his team get the win because they've not put his ban into effect yet. We don't even know how long he's going to get.
Yeah, and they took a big bite out of Watford's goal difference, didn't they?
He sure did, yeah.
Okay, as for a prediction, Preston come into this on the back of a good result, but I do expect Burnley to win with the home advantage. I'm going to go 2-0 Burnley. Okay,
I'm actually going to go for another Burnley 1-0. It was 1-0 or 2-1 for me because I could see Preston scoring again with Osmajic. He is a very, very good player. Yeah, that's as much as I'll say about him at the moment. Burnley, as you've mentioned, they are a good team. They're not taking enough chances for me. I do think at some point it's going to click, but ultimately they are getting the 3 points. And 1-0 again, it's 3 points, a clean sheet and a win. That's if that plays out. But yeah, I think I'm going to stick with that. Paid off last time, so 1-0 Burnley.
There you go. Share your thoughts, guys. Burnley versus Preston. The next one, the Canaries take on the Tigers. It's Norwich City versus Hull City, and it's going to be a good game based on their form.
Yeah.
Now, fair play, Sophie. Backing Hull to win 3-1 at QPR was some prediction.
Yeah, well, I could see it happening. That it has been a theme. They'll concede, but they do tend to win by a couple of goals. So I thought 3-1 was pretty standard.
Now, it's going to be tricky for Hull City to keep this winning run going because they're taking on Norwich, who've been in good form. They scored 4 against Watford, 3 against Derby, and then took a draw off Leeds. So, I think this is really delicately poised. I would not be surprised if either team wins this, and I'm tempted to go for a draw, but I might go for Norwich. And it's difficult because I've been really impressed with Hull, but I think Norwich had Hull City's number last season. I think they did the double over them. I remember, I think it was on the opening day, Norwich scored in the last minute and the ball had gone out of play and they got a corner.
That doesn't sound like Norwich.
It sounds familiar, doesn't it? Because that happened at Derby the other day as well. And Hull City are away. I fancy Norwich a bit more with the home advantage. 2-1 Norwich.
Yeah, I can't see Norwich losing this one at the moment with their home form, because I did think that if anyone would do it, it'd be Leeds, and they didn't. So you've got to give Norwich credit for their home form. Hull are flying at the moment. Their manager is really getting the best out of their players, but I don't want to go against either team here, so I might have to go down the middle. I was really tempted to back Norwich, but I've changed my mind last second. I'm going to say 2-2. There's going to be a few goals for me. I'm going to go Desmond.
That'd be a good game. I think it will be a good game based on the way these two teams have been performing lately. Share your thoughts in the comments, guys. The next one does feel like a big game. It's the Josh Murphy derby, Portsmouth versus Oxford United. And this is really, really big now because Portsmouth could be heading into the second international break still winless. And look, we said we've been fairly impressed with the fact they took draws off Leeds, Luton, Sheffield United, and they played loads of top teams. But then they lose 6-1 to Stoke.
Yeah.
What?
So after we said, oh, it's going to get easier now, we've got egg on our faces because Stoke absolutely rolled them. Tom Cannon alone wiped the floor with Portsmouth. I did think that they'd be more in that game after their recent performances, but that was shocking. That was so poor.
Maybe it suits Portsmouth to just play the top teams.
What, and just nick a draw? Or...
Yeah, just keep grinding out draws. No, let's be honest now. It's got to a point where Portsmouth have to win. They cannot draw this game. Drawing this is a negative for Portsmouth. They have to go out and win. And I feel so bad for those Portsmouth fans because they are some of the best in the league. They went up in their numbers to Stoke and it was embarrassing. But I've got to be honest, Sophie, I fancy Oxford because Oxford have been great. They got a good 2-2 draw at Luton and I'm going to back them. Portsmouth 1, Oxford United 2.
Yeah, what I will say is Portsmouth do have quite a few injuries, but so do Oxford as well. Their injuries are totting up as well. They'll feel a little bit hard done by in the Luton game to not walk away with all 3 points because they were the better team, in my opinion. So can I go against Oxford even though they have got a few more injuries? No, not after 6-1 against Stoke for Portsmouth. So 2-0 Oxford for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think they'll keep a clean sheet as well.
Do share your thoughts, guys. It does feel to me that if Portsmouth are going to win, it's got to be this kind of game.
Yeah, it has to be these kind of games.
But the last result gives me no confidence for them. So share your thoughts, Portsmouth and Oxford fans. It's a big game. And the next one, Sophie, we will be there and we will be looking forward to it as Coventry City take on Sheffield Wednesday. It's amazing how one game and one result can really change the mood. But we needed that win against Blackburn and 3-0. How convincing.
Well, you said to me, would you be happy with 1-0? I said, well, yeah, it's a win, but I want a few more goals to actually make me feel really happy, and we did that. So, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself and say, oh yeah, we're back just yet, because we need to do it consistently now. We need to win this game as well.
I agree. It has to be a win. Sheffield Wednesday, I don't think they're a bad team. I quite like Danny Roll, and Sheffield Wednesday as a club are historic. I've got a lot of respect for them for that. The thing is, Sophie, Coventry City need it to be a turning point, that result, and we need to get on a run now. Sheffield Wednesday, yes, they beat West Brom. They drew 0-0 with Bristol City. Coventry had Sheffield Wednesday's number last season.
I feel like we've got a pretty good record.
Played them
against
4 times.
Yeah.
Beat them 3 and drew once. I fancy Coventry to win this. Look, I don't want to get too ahead of myself because I would not be entirely surprised if Coventry go back to being pretty rubbish, but no, honestly, I've got to be positive. I've not backed Coventry much recently. 2-0.
Yeah, I'm going 2-0 as well, actually. I was tempted to say 3-1. I thought, actually, do I see there being that many goals? Possibly not. I do think Sheffield Wednesday are a good team. As you said, I really like the manager as well. I rate him highly. I do feel like we could get the better of Sheffield Wednesday, and we need to as well. We need to put a couple of good results together. We can't just have the one-off win. We need to make it 2 now. So I really hope we turn up again, cut out the defensive errors, and we should keep a clean sheet again, fingers crossed. So yeah, 2-0 for me as well.
2-0. Right, on to the next one, Sophie. We have Derby County versus Queen's Park Rangers. Derby, they've been good. They've been pretty good at home, not as good away. And this one's at home. And they take on QPR, who I do like, and I do like Cifuentes, but let's be honest, it's not been great.
No, in recent weeks it's not been great. I said to you, like defensively they're not looking very good, and shipped 3 goals. You
got both of these teams' predictions correct in midweek. You said Derby would lose 2-0 to Sunderland. You said QPR would lose 3-1 to Hull City. I'm going to go with the home advantage. Derby 2, QPR 1.
I'm going 2-0 Derby County. I think they could keep a clean sheet, and I think that'd be massive for the team's confidence. But going off form at the moment, and who wants it more, who's shown a little bit more fight, for me it's Derby County. Them being at home, I think it could be a good result, so 2-0.
If Derby, Oxford and Plymouth keep pulling out decent results,
who's going down?
Who's going to go down?
Yeah, it's because going to be tasty.
No disrespect to those teams, but a lot of people thought they would be the 3, I guess, at the start of the season.
Yeah.
Credit to Derby, credit to Oxford, credit to Plymouth. On to the next one, Sophie, and it is Plymouth Argyle. They take on Blackburn Rovers. Now, Blackburn, they were undefeated coming to Coventry, and we beat them 3-0. I think Blackburn fans probably hate Coventry at this point.
They say we're their bogey team, to be fair, and I get it.
Yeah, but look, Blackburn have been great. I think they're more than capable of getting back to winning ways. But what do I say about Plymouth? I like them when they're at
home.
At home, and they're at home here. Yes, they only lost 1-0 to Burnley away. That's actually not bad. I'm going to go for Plymouth. 1-0 because of the home advantage.
Genuinely, if Blackburn turn up the way they did against Coventry, I think Plymouth will beat them again. Which is really strange because before that they have looked really good, but they just didn't. I don't know if they completely underestimated Coventry considering the form we're in, or I don't know what happened there. But yeah, you can't really do the same against Plymouth because Plymouth are looking pretty good as well. They can put a good performance together, especially at home. So again, I'm back in the home side. 2-1 for me.
2-1 Plymouth. Yeah, I think it'd be amazing if Wayne Rooney does it. Honestly,
do you know, I'm actually like rooting for him now. To be honest.
Why not? And Plymouth are a good club, aren't they? They're good to have in the Championship.
Yeah.
Okay, the next game, Sophie, is Sheffield United versus Luton Town. 2 teams that were in the Premier League last season. They both came back down. Interestingly, they both beat each other away from home.
Yeah.
I fancy Sheffield United though. Sheffield United just seem to be grinding the results out, and it was 1-0 against Swansea, and Luton, they drew with Oxford as you predicted. I'm looking at quite a lot of what the Luton fans have to say every time Rob Edwards does an interview, and they're kind of going, we're sick of the same excuses, he's got no plan B.
Yeah.
I do feel like Luton need to get a big win, a statement win, and this would be a statement win. But I'm not going for it. I'm quite hot on Sheffield United here. 1-0 to the Blades.
Yeah, I'm saying the same. I know it sounds boring, but yeah, 1-0 to the Blades. I think if if Rob Edwards was to tinker with the starting 11 a little bit, drop Adebayo, I think they could get something from this game, because right now that starting 11 doesn't fill me with confidence. I don't see where the goals are coming from there. Yeah, so for me, 1-0 to Sheffield United as well.
Yeah, both going for the Blades. Do share your thoughts on that one. It does seem a decent matchup for the Championship. Next up, we go down to South Wales, Sophie, as Swansea City take on Stoke Let's start with Stoke. Apologies. I mean,
I don't know. Because they're so strange.
Stoke, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're giving us a headache. We're trying to do predictions based on logic, based on previous results, based on how teams are playing.
Yeah.
And Stoke have been pretty rubbish for their last few games, and then they smashed Portsmouth 6-1. Look, credit Stoke City, but I think it would be very typical if you now lose this game.
Yeah.
But no, I'm going to reward you. I've got to back you after that incredible win. Surely the confidence will be through the roof.
Gotta be.
Swansea, they lost 1-0 to Sheffield United. I'm going to go for some fun. Swansea 1, Stoke 3.
Okay, I'm going 2-1 Stoke. I feel like I've got to back them after last week, but it would be typical Stoke to follow that performance up with a loss. We saw it earlier on in the season in the cup game. They rolled Middlesbrough 5-0. I know that was a cup game, but you just think, where does Stoke get it from? They look really, really poor and then absolutely smash a team.
I know it's easy to say this about any team, but in just a one-off game, they can look like the best team in the league.
Yeah. And then their fans will be like, yeah, I told you this is like how good we are. And then the next week they'll lose. And you're like, well, that's the Stoke I know. But no, I'm going to back them this week. You've got to after that. Swansea are an okay team. They're not performing at their best for me. I know they're at home, so you might give them something. That's why I'm giving them a goal, but I've got to reward Stoke after last week. So, well, after midweek. 2-1.
The next game is at Vicarage Road, Sophie, as Watford take on Middlesbrough. Two teams that have been pretty good this season. We expected Middlesbrough to be good. Watford have been a pleasant surprise, but then an unpleasant surprise in midweek because they lost 3-0 away at Preston. Watford are so tricky to predict because they
whether they turn up or not.
They just beat Sunderland at home the week before, so it would be typical for them to win this. But let's reward Middlesbrough. They've just won 1-0 away at West Brom.
Yeah, that was massive.
Watford 1, Borough 2.
I'm going to say 1-0 Borough. Again,
similar though.
Well, yeah, it's the same deficit, but I do fancy Borough to do this. It does depend if Watford turn up or not, because if they do, I'd fancy a draw, but I don't know, they're hit and miss. I think Middlesbrough are pretty solid. It was a great result against West Brom, so if they can follow it up with another one, that's typical Carrick, starting the season poorly, like Mark Robins, but then starts to put a string of results together. So I think they're going to do it again. 1-0 Borough.
1-0 Borough. Share your thoughts on that one, guys. Middlesbrough looking pretty decent at the minute. The team that they beat are up next, West Bromwich Albion, and it's 2 defeats in a row for them. West Brom have been great this season. I think they're going to get back on track. Now, they take on Millwall. Millwall were great at the weekend against Preston, but then they lost to bottom of the table Cardiff, and they're the first team to have lost to them. So, it's difficult. Surely West Brom can't drop points again. Let's go 2-0 West Brom.
Yeah, I don't know what's more surprising for me. The fact that Millwall lost to Cardiff, who hadn't picked up a win all season, or the fact that West Brom have lost 2 on the bounce. Yeah. Either way, it's not great, and both surprised me. So something's got to stop. It could be a draw, but no, I think West Brom are going to turn it around. I'm going to say 2-1 to West Brom, because before the last couple of results, they did look very good, and I do trust Corberán to put that basically behind them and move forwards. And yeah, as I say, Millwall, not a good result against Cardiff at all.
No,
it was like just not expected for them to lose.
No, yeah.
Even like the draw, you'd think, nah, I think they'll do it. But yeah, that was really surprising. So
it's pretty embarrassing when you're the first team to lose to the bottom of the table team. Yeah. Look, the next game is an interesting one. It's the final game. It's Bristol City versus Cardiff City. It's a derby, and it could be decent. I mean, Bristol City have been inconsistent. I fancy them more at home. They've drawn their last home game against Sheffield Wednesday. They drew their last away game against Swansea, and then they beat Oxford before that. But then there was a couple of 3-0 defeats. As for Cardiff, credit to them. They got their first win against Millwall, and it needs to be a turning point.
Yeah.
I make Bristol City slight favourites, but go on, I'll give Cardiff a draw because these games can be close. 1-1.
Yeah, I feel like we're in agreement on a lot of these games. I'm saying 0-0. I've not thrown a 0-0 in this video, and if any game, this one's screaming out 0-0 again. Not just because Bristol City got a 0-0 draw last game out, but also I think that they could cancel each other out. I've got a little bit more trust in Cardiff after their win, so I think they could get a draw.
There you go, both going for a draw to wrap up this video. So then guys, that wraps up our championship predictions for yet another week. Can I just say once again a massive thank you for your continued support. We've been doing this for a few years now, and it never ceases to amaze me how amazing you guys are. Once again, be sure to drop a like and subscribe, anyone that hasn't already, to help us push to 78,000. The support has been amazing. Of course, there's an international break coming up, but we will be back with the championship predictions the following week. Thank you as always for joining me.
Thank you.
We will see you in the next one. Take care. Peace out.